Welcome to God with George Ortega. This is episode number 133. I'm recording it on Tuesday, April 27, 2021 at 5:14 p.m. Eastern Time. So God, thanks. I just got off of a Zoom call sponsored by the American Meditation Society. It's a Friendly Circles weekly call. And I've talked about this before, thank you before for it. It's like when I first attended the group and found out about it, it seemed a bit too simple because basically it's not a conversation. It's like a series of 3 or 4 questions that were asked. There were maybe about 10 of us in the group today. And we each take turns and some of these questions what good is going to happen in your life right now? What are you worried about the future? What experience have you had in the past for which there are no words to describe? That's an example of some of them. And it's such a simple format, and there's a bit of sometimes discussion after somebody goes, but sometimes not. It's such a great, so appreciate that, guys. All right. Now, God, here's where you've had me doing a lot for a long time. I don't take vacations, and but I guess what I do is have these down periods where I just stop doing as much, and this is, I think, where what I'm in, maybe for about a week or so. Well, I'm just going to do less, because there's things that I want to do. So yes, I'm not going to, there's some things that absolutely have to be done that really responsibility, but I'm just not going to, take on too much. So God, I need your help with that. So what else? Yeah. And I mean, God, what I'm feeling now, and somebody from the group kind of mentioned it, getting into this kind of state where, there aren't all that many thoughts. And, it's more about just being and feeling and all. And I think I'm somewhat into that kind of state right now. Ordinarily, sometimes I will, unless I'm meditating, ordinarily I will, that kind of state would be a bit concerning with me. It would feel like, well, there's something I should be doing. But the person who spoke, just mentioned that they actually enjoyed those states. It's kind of and so I want to develop that perspective to just, again, I think I talked about this yesterday with you, to not constantly be having to do things. So having said that, I didn't feel like playing guitar, but so I just played one song. I played a jam to come together, and thank you, God. So it's getting better. I just feel it. It's kind of I guess with an instrument, you want to have it where it becomes a part of you, where it kind of where you want to go on the fretboard you're going, rather than having, being led by whatever seems easiest, whatever. So that's going well. And God, thank you. So yesterday, I mentioned this, I guess, yesterday's episode, that, you had me begin to do the highlighting on the Climate Rescue Capitalism book. And so I'll start the series sometime soon. That's, again, I don't feel like doing that today, and there's no way. I'm going to go out, after this, and I'm going to go to Target, and hopefully they'll have a frame. That Beatles poster that I showed the audience yesterday is 24 by 36. So hopefully they will have one of these frame things. Hopefully it won't be too much, because I've bought a few in the past on Amazon, but I figured, Target is right here. So I will do that. And my left ear has been hurting a little, just I've been using my headset a lot, to listen to music. And so I'm going to give my ears a little rest. And just just walk through town without the headset. Because a lot of times, God, I totally appreciate it. And some people don't get it. Some people, like, they see a person walking down the street with a headset, listening to music, whatever, and say, oh, this seems kind of like antisocial. No, no, it's kind of like, imagine yourself driving around in your car without the radio or any music or any sound on. It gets a little less than interesting. So, like, so this is the same when walking, so, but, sometimes it's nice to be more open. Yeah, I'd like to thank you for stuff. What you've had me do recently is, and this is working out well, for so long, I've kind of like been frustrated by this culture. I was born in Cuba. I guess I'm talking to the audience, where people, tend to be friendlier, or not just in Cuba, in small towns here in the United States, people greet each other, acknowledge each other on the street, whether it's in the Westchester Mall or the Galleria. That doesn't happen all too often. And a long time ago, I would kind of like greet people or try to greet people, and, kind of like people are just like, zooming ahead, not noticing anything. I think it's fear or whatever on their part. But recently, it's something that you just had me do that I wasn't planning or thinking about it, but you just had me begin to actually just, at least attempt to greet people, establish eye contact, acknowledge their presence, their beingness, which, I mean, in New York City, I guess it's not so possible, or at least on Fifth Avenue, whatever, around here in White Plains, it is. And yes, some people, nothing really has changed, except I think my attitude got. So that's what I want to thank you about. So, like, I no longer I feel a little rejected when that happens, but for the most part, I say, well, that's their thing, or actually it's your thing, God. I mean, for whatever reason, you're not allowing them to be friendly or whatever. But that has, that's a small change, but it's a nice change, and I appreciate that. And thank you for this article that I found. As I mentioned to you in last episode I presented before, I wanted to look for some stats on what the real risk of symptomatic reinfection is after getting the vaccine. So I found an article that says, let's say I got the Moderna vaccine, right, which is like 94% effective, right? Or the Pfizer, let's say, is 95. Because that's what the article used. So that, some people would say, oh, that means I have a 5% chance of getting infected after I get the vaccine. No, it's much, much less than that. And symptomatically, in other words, you might get, and actually, I think that the figures on that are extremely low, but the figures on a symptomatic reinfection, it's like 0.04, which is like 1/1000th of it's not 5%, it's 1/1000th of a chance, whatever. 1 in 1,000, I guess, or well, 4 in 1,000. And those are like great odds, I think. So anyways, like I posted a thing on Facebook about it. I sent the article to my brother and a few other people, whatever. And thank you for that. So I hope, God, you get the media organizations who thrive on people being afraid because they make money this way. The media, like, they're supposed to be the watchdogs of our democracy. I think we need to reform them too. They're way too concerned with profits. And it's understandable sometimes, because there's a competitive industry, but no, that's not an excuse. They need to stop scaring people more. And like when something like this comes up, I haven't found this information in the mainstream news. At least it hasn't been headline news. New York Times, Washington Post, Google News. This was in some obscure science. I mean, it's authoritative. It's a valid source because they're citing a published study. But our media, we have to get there. All right. So what else? All right, God. Now regarding the cannabis. because I really want, again, I'll do maybe 2, 3, 4 months. I don't know how long it's going to take to get through this Climate Rescue Capitalism TV series. It's just be once a week. But once I'm done with that, I really am looking forward to, using cannabis responsibly, the new series. And naturally, I'll focus on medical. Well, I mean, I take medical or whatever, but that, so I mentioned that guy because, like, and I'll explain this for the audience also. What happens, I think, there's various ways to describe what happens when you're on cannabis. And I think it's similar to what happens when you're on alcohol. With cannabis, well, no, it's similar in some ways, but with cannabis, I think one thing it does, it increases the amount of information that one perceives, and then one the quality and character and strength perhaps of thoughts that one thinks. So basically, I think it kind of like, let's say, the analogy is like your mind and body is a car, and you're coasting along on first, second gear, right? And then you go up to third and fourth and fifth gear. Let's say you've got like a Corvette. I don't know if they have 6 gears. I don't. But anyway, you're like, you're revving the engine, and so like, and that's what happens. I think that's one part of what happens. That's what I want to just address right now, guys. So like, so after, ordinarily they suggest taking tolerance breaks like every 3 months or so. I haven't taken a tolerance break, and tolerance is like, what happens is like, if you consume it daily like I do, you build up a tolerance, so that you need more medicine to get the same effect. Then what they recommend, every 3 months, you go off it for a week or 2 or 3, and your body mind recalibrates, the endocannabinoid system recalibrates, and then you're back to the way it was before. You require much less. But the other thing is, like, what I was feeling is like, yeah, I was feeling a bit drained from doing it too much. So so as of today, I haven't had any cannabis today. I don't plan to. And what I want to, I mean, because I also heard somebody, on a cannabis podcast say that they sometimes take a day or 2 tolerance breaks, and that's enough. In the past, I've taken 2, 3 weeks and a month once, but I certainly, I want to take, at least a few days. And even then, if I go back to it after a few days, to notice that if I'm consuming it, I vape it, if it's not creating the desired effect after, let's say, 15 minutes and stuff, that means that I need to continue that tolerance break. So, and so what's great about using cannabis, at least in my experience, is that when I start using it, let's say I finish this tolerance break and I start using it again, it's a wonderful experience. It's like, whoa, it's like going from the Wizard of Oz, when it's like, black and white, into the Technicolor. It's like, whoa, life is amazing. But very fortunately, what I notice when I have these tolerance breaks is it feels good in a different way. It's like, whoa, I don't have to deal with all this information, and my body kind of like enjoys that. Now, having said that, it could be that I need to get better at titrating, that I need to really, well, sometimes take less. Take less, I guess, after, I notice it's just not having the effect. But no, I feel that if I get it right, I probably would be able to, like, I think there's some people that have been taking it daily for years and years. I should look that up, and they don't get these tolerance effects, because I got to look into that. But that's an option. But for right now, I feel really good about that. So what else? Yeah, okay. And so one of the questions they asked in this group is like, well, what are you concerned with? And I told them, well, I'm very optimistic about the world. Even if we've gone over the point of no return on climate change, which we may or may not, it depends on various factors. I mean, it's a very, you can't predict all that accurately in 10, 20, 30 years into the future in a certain sense. But what I mentioned is like, so I got to go to the dentist sometime soon, and I think I need an implant or maybe a couple. So earlier today, God, you had me read this Kindle book on implants, which is a little scary. And this is so great about what happened. So I mentioned this in the group, and a woman who had it says and you want to know something? I had implants, no big deal at all. So I'm actually a lot less worried about that. But so appreciate that. I appreciate you're giving me I felt responsible, even though I didn't feel like doing it today. I felt that I've got to find a place in Manhattan. I guess I want to go to how they have these training centers, school of dentistry, school of eye care, whatever. I want to go into Manhattan for this. So I'll do that, and that's going on. All right. And for those of you, I am talking with God. I'm talking about my stuff because I did over 100 episodes on God, talking about God. Now I'm giving myself as much leeway as I want to just talk to God about anything I want. So, that's and it's working out. It's working out. Okay. And thank you, God. I weighed myself this morning. And again, I remember I wanted to get to 153. I weighed myself this morning. It's 151.5. So I'm there. and so that means I can go into the Dollar Tree and get some croutons for my salad, because a lot of times when I do that, I'll bring a bag or two home, and that night, the bag will be gone, because to me they're it's kind of like a bag of potato chips or something. But anyway, just God, thank you for having me reach my weight. And I was thinking of going down to 145, but I don't know, maybe 150. And again, going from 153 to 150, it's no big deal. I'm pleased with what it is. I still want to, God, remind me to research, because I have a little bit of a pot belly, much less than before, actually. And that just may be normal physiology. So I want to do a little reading on that, just find out. But anyway, I appreciate you giving me the willpower, not the free will. It's all you, the willpower to get this done. So what else? What else? Getting back to the cannabis, I really would like some people to when I start, vaping again, to socially get together with. Again, I've been taking it medicinally for 2.5 years, and I think it's got to be different. I mean, last time I smoked with people, or this is going back 30, 40 years, and so I'm thinking it's it's got to be a pleasant experience that I want to have, and which basically, because when I consume it, it helps me with my socializing, and I assume it does the same with other people. The paranoia, no, the paranoia, I think it has to do with a couple of things. First of all, a lot of people don't get it, and if you titrate correctly, I guess I'm talking to the audience again. If you titrate correctly, not do too much. You shouldn't have it, or if you combine it with CBD or just use CBD, you shouldn't. But I think I think a lot of the paranoia is and was about it being illegal in some states. It's not illegal in New York anymore, thank goodness. And the other theory, I think I may have mentioned this before, is that since cannabis brings more information for you to process, I think it also it makes you more aware of what you're feeling and thinking. And so basically, I think this paranoia is there is an underlying anxiety that, for example, explains why people don't greet each other on the street. That we're having this fear of life, of each other, whatever. That's pretty constant. Perhaps, hopefully, low level. But when the cannabis can, I think, sometimes make you aware of this fear that you're in denial of, which is good, because like to the extent you're aware of it, then hope, well, we can work on it, we can resolve it as much as we can. So okay, so what else? So yeah, so what I'm going to do today, guys, is like I got to come back here and host. It's almost like it's 5:35. I guess I'll leave here around 6. So I can only be out for a couple of hours, and then I got to return it. I can open up my meetup room at 8 o'clock from 8 to 9. It was from 8 to 9:30, but an hour and a half is too late, that long. I just want to see how many people, hold on, I just want to see how many people signed up, if I've got this. I mean, it's a good group. We usually get, 6, 7, 8 people, 9 people sometimes, which is good, is a good amount. All right, so we've got, and I have it listed in 2, my meetup and another one, but where is, okay. What will the next 4 years look like? And liberals only in parentheses. That's the name of the group. And tonight, all right, excellent. 6 attendees and then 2 and another one in the other one. So like, it should be a good group. So I'm looking forward to that. So, and I was like, last time, yeah, and it'll be interesting tonight, because I was consuming cannabis before the meetings before, and also this will be kind of like without it. So be interesting to how it affects me. God, got 6 minutes left to go in this. Again, I need you to help me more to remain and become calmer while I'm doing this. I mean, I do sense progress, but I suspect that there's a lot more progress that can be made. So, I mean, let me ask you directly, why am I like that? I mean, it's not so uncommon, I think, but, we start talking, we get ourselves nervous, which is, I think, explains why people aren't more social, why people don't just go up to strangers on the street and talk to each other. Some of us can do this, but most of us can't. And yeah, we could like talking, for whatever reason, makes us anxious. And it's kind of like cannabis, like talking kind of like activates parts of our mind that aren't all that awake or active otherwise. And, it has some positive and negative effects sometimes. Although, with cannabis, I mean, it's, I just told the group this. They asked me, what am I worried about? I told them, I'm not worried about the future, in part because of cannabis, because like, as I explained to them, like, 10, 20, 30,000 years ago, before there was any civilization, you had to consider that everybody was afraid of each other in different tribes. They didn't understand much of anything. Well, I don't know what they understood, but they must have been feeling some anxiety. All of a sudden, somebody happens on, like some fermented grapes, they discover alcohol, and then they start brewing beer and making wine. And I believe, I was explaining to the group, I believe that was pivotal in the evolution of humankind for the establishment of civilization. These 3 martini lunches that you hear about aren't coincidental. People like are involved in business, people have rough days, they get home, they have a drink, they feel better, it makes life so much more tolerable. It lowers our level of anxiety. So what I explained to the group is like, yeah, all right, but now cannabis, alcohol kills, like, I think in the United States, I don't know if it's the United States or the world, like, I think it's the United States, maybe 50,000 people each year. And that's a lot. So like, cannabis doesn't kill anybody. So I'm speculating, theorizing that the cannabis is our new alcohol, that, it's a gift from God, from you. I'm addressing you, I guess. And God, thank you for this gift that's going to allow us to navigate climate change. Either like, God, you have a like set to like just devolve, into whatever, like go from 7.5 billion people. We're going to go up to about 9.5 or 10 by 2050. But then after, between 2050 and 2100, if we don't get a handle on climate change, we might be reduced in numbers to less than 1 billion. And the reason I still feel optimistic is, like, by then we will have developed this technology. The stigma about cannabis, about antidepressant medications, will all be gone. And somebody's going to come up with not just medications and technologies to just make us feel so much better than we do, to not be afraid, to really enjoy life, but also to be healthier. And also perhaps even, like, to make us more virtuous. Like, our conscience seems to be like a muscle that if we exercise it, it gets stronger and more able to discern right from wrong and to do what's right instead of what's wrong. And so I'm very optimistic because of technology, because we're learning how to, again, cannabis is like, it's been around as for a few thousand years, I think, at least. But it's only now that it's pretty much used throughout the world. And so again, I'm very confident about that, God. Sorry, I got about a minute and a half. What else? So yeah, I'll go into town. I'll walk through the Westchester without a headset. And God, like a long time ago, before you had me using a headset walking through the street, I used to like sing, and I couldn't, like sometimes I'll talk to myself when walking, and then when somebody's coming around, I'll just like talk much more quietly or not, whatever. Sometimes I think I have an ear thing, talking through a Bluetooth, whatever. But a lot of times I'd just be singing, and I don't care if people hear me sing. So, like, yes, I should go back to that while I give my ears a bit of a rest. So that'll be good. All right, I've got about 37 seconds left. So audience, thank you for watching again. Catch this series every Monday through Friday on channel at 5 o'clock. It's always at 5 on channel 76. If you get Optimum, 45, you get Verizon. And if you live in Scarsdale or Tarrytown or Hartsdale or Ardsley or one of these surrounding towns and you get Verizon, you can also get this there too. And I upload the episodes on YouTube and Facebook. I uploaded a whole bunch yesterday. So thanks for watching, and God willing, I'll see you soon.